What if the power of finance wasn't just digital but fully decentralized? AI powered and built for solopreneurs. Meet Heidi DeCoux, a serial entrepreneur who built and sold multiple high margin businesses and is now leading a fintech revolution with Cash Flowy. In this episode, she shares a bold vision behind Web4, a new era where bookkeepers disappear, crypto and fiat blend seamlessly, and a small business can gain global power without the middleman. But Heidi's story isn't just about tech, it's about total transformation. From walking away from a life that no longer served her to rebuilding with purpose and profit. She redefines success on her own terms. If you're a founder, freelancer, or future forward thinker, this conversation will shift your perspective. We're going to dive straight into Cash Flowy. So it aims to eliminate the need for bookkeepers. How do you balance the automation side with the human need for a bookkeeper?
An accurate human bookkeeper, statistically speaking, is about 70% accurate, or I should say a good human bookkeeper is about
Yeah.
70% accurate. And AI has nearly perfect accuracy. So I know a lot of people get scared about turning over things like finances to AI, but the truth is AI can actually do it better. And the difference with Cash Flowy and why the AI feels really magical for our users that use it is because we have a single target market. So we know them and their business extraordinarily well, and we're able to make the AI really smart. Whereas, like, say, a QuickBooks, FreshBooks, the
Yeah.
things, they have AI built into it. The AI is very dumb, which isn't their fault. It's because, like, QuickBooks, for example, it's created for larger businesses that have a lot of complexities and for a million different types of a large business, all of which have their own set of complexities. And so making AI smart in that environment is actually very hard at this stage. Making AI smart when you serve one type of client, you know them extraordinarily well, you can train the AI, then it actually feels really magical. And with our target market, which is primarily solopreneurs, so coaches, consultants, therapists, freelancers, or small businesses that don't have like a lot of big complications. So anything that's like a small business, our AI is able to do your books much more efficiently than a human bookkeeper, more accurately and in real time. So let's say that you're out and you make a charge either online or out in the world on your business credit card for a business expense. Within about 90 seconds, that transaction is going to show up in your cash flowy real-time dashboard. It's going to edit your P&L accordingly, your all of your reporting. So everything's up to date in real time. Like, there's no thing if you use cash flowy as getting ready for tax season. You're always ready for tax season. It's
Right.
very and then the bigger, more magical part of cash flowy is the fact that it shows you your key numbers, your KPIs, which stands for key performance indicators, that you need to know and understand so that you can make smarter business decisions. It's one thing to just be tax ready and have your reports. It's another thing to actually know what's happening in your business in real time and what you should be focusing on based on what the numbers are telling you. So we have a built-in AI financial coach that you just can talk to 24/7 that tells you, hey, based on your KPIs, your biggest problem in your business right now is retention. You should be focusing on client retention. Here's some strategies that you could implement to do that. Or your biggest problem right now is this. So instead of just throwing a lot of spaghetti at the wall and you're doing a ton of things and nothing's really moving the needle, you know exactly what's happening in your business and what you should focus on. So our goal with our users is to actually help them make more money. And even more importantly than that, help them have more net profit take home pay. A big thing that we find, in fact, when we were doing the research for Cash Flowy, and then when we launched our beta and are working with our founding members, we heard over and over and over again people say, I don't know how much I can afford to pay myself. And so we actually have a cash flow tracker built in that has a tool that will tell you how much you can afford to pay yourself. And then we show them how to increase that amount, like things that they can focus on in their business that will increase their net profit so that they can increase how much they can pay themselves each month.
Okay, you give me a lot of information there, and I just want to break some of this down. So it does the traditional, you make a payment on your business card, it goes to the software, Cash Flowy, and it categorizes it first of all. It does that straight away. So if you're making a socializing or something and it's a restaurant, it will then categorize it as socializing. Or if you make a payment to a builder, then it will categorize it that way. So I can see how I worry that might not be necessarily accurate, which is one thing that I worry about for you. But I'm going to take a leap of faith that they would be able to do that accurately.
But you can change the categorization with one click. So what Cash Flowy is doing is reading transactions. So it doesn't actually have access to any of our users, bank account, credit cards. All it has is through the API, it's just reading the transaction. So it says this person bought this thing at this dollar amount. It reads it and then it says that is a software expense. That is this expense, that expense. Or if it's income, it'll categorize income. But when you log into your dashboard, if you don't like any of the categories, like you're like, I actually be this category instead, with one button, you can change the category and then it trains the AI that next time you want those kinds of expenses to be categorized that particular way. Because the thing with the US tax code is it is subjective. It's not like, expenses could go in different categories. And so you can change them.
Yeah. But your QuickBooks are doing that anyway. Like your FreshBooks and the QuickBooks, they can do that at this stage already as well. But I like the idea that you can go in and you can edit and the AI learns. So then the next stage you talked about was KPIs. So I did an episode recently about the importance of KPIs. But you can put your KPIs into Cash Flowy, and then they can, within the realms of the bookkeeping side, it can then add into a dashboard that has your KPIs in that you can track?
So we actually have a KPI dashboard with the 4 categories of KPIs that every small business needs to be tracking, and each KPI within each category. The Cash Flowy pulls in all the data it can, but there is some things that you will have to manually enter because there's just no way for us to know information. But then it will cue you to enter those things. You enter them and then it calculates all those KPIs. And then the AI coach that gets to know your business and you says, hey, all right, these are your KPIs and this is what they mean. This is what they're actually telling you what's going on in your business. This is where you've really got to be paying attention. This is where you're doing really well. And so it will analyze that with you and you can chat with it 24/7 and get advice and really know what to focus on.
So that was a third element I wanted to talk about, was the financial coach. So how have you built this financial coach? Is it only in the US that it works, or does it work in other jurisdictions?
No, we're US based exclusively right now.
Right. So it knows the US legal setup. You ask it a question saying, for example, this KPI is lower this month or has been declining over the last 2 or 3 months. How can I improve that measurement to increase it? Is that the sort of thing you're asking the careers coach, exactly. The financial coach?
And we're programming it and it's getting smarter and smarter. We're still in beta right now. So we have, we just bring small batches of our founding members and deliver really white glove service because they're helping us shape and, grow Flowy into the vision. And so we're training it to be really smart at saying, hey, here's some strategies you can start implementing that are going to help this particular KPI in your business.
And the AI, is that being taught? Has it been given the information and it's learned from the information, and then every time someone asks it a question, it gets a little bit smarter, mm-hmm. Or have you already tried to break it with giving, I don't know, 100, 500, 1,000 different questions to train the AI. How have you actually developed the AI, and how does it have all of the information it needs to be able to give you a good answer?
Yeah, so we have fed it information, and then our founding members feed it information, and then we analyze, like, okay, does it people because people word questions in different ways, like, is it understanding that this person meant this and this person meant the same thing even though they worded that question differently? And then
Yeah.
what did it deliver to them? Was that highly useful, or do we need to tweak that delivery so that it's more useful? And so we're just making it smarter and smarter over time. And then the financial coach within your Cash Flowy account learns you and your business, as time goes and as you talk to it and as you use it, and as it gets more data about your business. And then once we are able to grow and scale where we've got thousands of users, we're going to have all this data, and we're going to know who the highest paid therapists are, the highest paid coaches are, the highest paid, in each category, and with the highest profit margins. And so we'll be able to take that raw data and say, okay, these people are the most successful. They have the highest profit margin. What are they doing differently? Let's train the AI to teach the people who are struggling to follow those same practices of the thriving business in their category.
This episode is sponsored by Zach Southall PT. Quick story, I wanted to lose weight and add muscle. Working with my personal trainer Rob at Zach Southall PT with guidance from Zach too has been a game changer for me. They are incredibly supportive and seriously knowledgeable about fitness and nutrition. The first week I recorded and photographed all my food which Rob was looking at to assess the nutrition but also the amount of food I was eating. Then we added gym and cardio sessions, which has made me feel healthier and more confident, because when you feel better, you perform better in life and business. The plan that they've created fits my life, training, food, and accountability. The results have been great. I feel I'm only partway through this journey, and I'm staying with Rob and Zach to hit my target weight and muscle goals. If you want the same momentum, go to the link below to complete the form and Zach will be in contact. If you're a busy business owner not prioritizing your health, this is going to be a game changer. Okay, thank you for answering that and clarifying that. Your platform offers onboarding and education around stablecoin transactions. What's been your experience of
Not yet.
solopreneurs
Not yet.
learning? Not yet.
We're on our way to that. So that's a future pacing. But yes, we are on our way because, the world is moving quickly, right? I think the world's moving way faster than the general public realizes. It's kind of like what they see is the tip of the iceberg, and there's this huge, ice underwater. I'm an eternal optimist. So although we're going to have challenges, and progress is never a straight line, it is, always a bumpy line. I really grateful that I live in this time, in this era. We're seeing more change in our lifetime than any generation before us. And it is the tip of the iceberg right now. I think we have some extraordinarily exciting years ahead. And yes, there's going to be also extraordinary challenges, but I am grateful to be in the ring and be part of creating a new world that creates equity, for all. And a way towards equity, a big leap forward, is going to be working on the blockchain, having AI, partnered with that, and AI backed humans, where we can actually unleash more human potential and human capital by getting all of the admin and the minutia and the, like, accounting and the bookkeeping and all that, and eventually all the housework and laundry and dishes and everything off of people's lists, because we have machines handling all of that. So what you can spend your time is rejuvenating your mind, body, and soul, being with friends and family, taking care of your health, and then being in your high human, creative, powered, and putting your good work in the world, doing your good services, creating solutions for the world. And so that is where we're headed. And I'm excited to be part of that. And as part of that, we are going to be, breaking down all of the existing financial systems, which I think is great. I mean, they're currently problematic. And so I'm excited that we're going to be working, towards a world of transparency and equity. And we can do that through the blockchain and stable coins and AI, and all of these things together are going to help create that.
So how do you ensure that your tech remains intuitive for non-tech savvy clients? Because you're really talking about consultants and solopreneurs and therapists and coaches and stuff. They are generally not really the most tech savvy out of all of society. How are you managing to educate and make it intuitive for your clients?
We're perfect for that, actually. Our clientele, many of them have set up like a QuickBooks account, and then they immediately got like a panic attack when they logged in, and then they closed the free trial and never went back again. And many just are still, have been working like Google Sheets because they have like trauma from logging into like a QuickBooks. And so we are the polar opposite of that. We have a clean Apple-esque dashboard. Everything is pulled in and organized. And because we don't service all of these large, complicated businesses, that is really what a QuickBooks is designed for. And that's why they offer like certifications for bookkeepers, like become a certified, QuickBooks, so that you can manage the QuickBooks account for your clients. And that's really how they're done best. We are the literal opposite of that, where we're for the small business with a pretty simple set of facts, but they really need to know your numbers. They don't want to have to spend the time and money on an expensive software account plus a human bookkeeper that they email a question to and maybe hear back from 3 days later. And usually it's like a follow-up, question. It's like a week goes by and they still don't have their question answered. Where with Cash Flowy, they can handle all of their business finances themselves in under an hour a month, even if they have almost zero tech skills and they have no financial background, and bookkeeping makes them want to break out in hives. Under those set of facts, it will take them a max of 1 hour a month to do all of their business bookkeeping, because it's that simple and that smart of a system. And they'll actually know what's happening in their business. For our target market, for those that have, say, a FreshBooks or QuickBooks account and a human bookkeeper, when we ask them about their numbers, about their KPIs and what's happening in their business, they can't answer. They don't actually know. So they're spending $300, $400, $500 a month, and really they're just like kind of tax ready. They don't actually know what's going on in their business. They don't actually know their numbers. And so for a fraction of that price, they can just manage all their bookkeeping, know what's happening in their business. It handles their invoicing, it handles their KPIs, it does cash flow tracking for them. It's an all-in-one solution that is very sleek, streamlined, and highly automated.
How much does it cost?
So our regular price is $550 a year, or sorry, $597 a year, or $55 a month. But right now we're on beta founding membership. So we're going to be inviting in an additional approximately 100 to 150 more founding members before we go up to regular pricing. And that is half off. So it's $297 a year. And if you're a beta founding member, you get locked in that rate forever. So for as long as you're a user, even when our price goes up, it won't affect you. You'll be locked in the founding member price because you came in, you helped us shape Cash Flowy. We're so grateful for our founding members. They've been amazing to work with. We just love each and every one of them. And so we're going to bring in about 100 to 150 more at the $297 rate.
And can my audience apply if they wanted to be part of it? How do they do that?
And just go to cashflowy.ai, cashflowy.ai.
So that's
and
CASHFLOWY.ai, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Super. Thank you for clarifying that. So I think your biggest challenge after only a few minutes of talking to you is the education piece. The piece that to educate people that instead of spending $500 a month plus your QuickBooks or FreshBooks, whatever one you're using, and you need a bookkeeper, a person to be a bookkeeper, your biggest barrier from our initial conversation is that you need to educate people that they can actually do all of this at low cost with an AI, and it's automated and it makes it easier and simpler and faster. What ways are you marketing to, or going to be marketing to be able to break down that friction or that barrier of people not necessarily knowing what you do?
Yeah, so we're going to be we started a series of live webinars. We've been doing on a small scale, but it's been going really well. And I actually love doing live webinars because I love talking to our audience and really like them, getting their feedback, hearing what's working in your business, where are you in pain right now, and figuring out how we can help them go from where they are today, which is maybe working too many hours and not having enough take home pay at the end of the month, to a business that's thriving, that they love, that they can do in a reasonable amount of hours each week and have the level of income that they need to support their life. And so my whole goal with our target market is figuring out that gap for all of them and help, like, having Cash Flowy be the solution for that. Solopreneurs, they're the largest business segment in the US, and it's the fastest growing, on track to be 46 million by this time next year. And I believe it is the most freedom way for this new, especially the newer generation or the burned out older generation, to live, because we're now in an era where you can build a small business, like some type of a solopreneur or solopreneur-ish small business, easier than ever and make an extraordinary income doing it, because we can AI back you, and because of the tools that are out there and the marketing opportunities that are out there and the delivery. Like, it's just so much easier. Like, I think back to when I started my first business, 25 years ago. I mean, we just, like, when I started my first business, we just had the first email service provider like that came on the scene, and it was so clunky and so difficult, and because I was new, and like what's available today is incredible, but it's overwhelming for people. And so we want to simplify all of that so that they can get their business off the ground and get it thriving and make the kind of money that they want to make to support their life. It's totally possible for a US based solopreneur to make multi six figures, even multi seven figures, and have maybe just like a few part time contractors. They don't even need to have like regular employees. In fact, some on our planet right now, someone is working on a one person business that will be the first $1 billion one person business. It is just a matter of time before we see that come into fruition. And so I'm excited to be part of that, and part of that birthing that solution so that people can free themselves of like very heavy corporate jobs, and instead provide either freelance services in a much easier fashion that gives them time and location freedom and financial freedom, or whatever that their product or service that they're providing that feels really good for them. It's something that they really want to be doing and putting out into the world, and they can make an abundant income doing that without having a big complex business with a million employees.
Yeah, I'm not. We're going to move on, but I'm not necessarily. I would challenge you, $1 billion business with a solopreneur, even with leveraging AI, and it's the scalability of a solopreneur that whether that would be $1 billion business, but we shall see. Let's wait and see what happens in the future. But I want, as you touched on a little bit about your story, you've built and sold 3 different companies, and even walked away from a life that you thought that you wanted. What was the turning point that made you radically redesign your life in 2021?
Oh, that's a lot to unpack. I guess the shorter answer. So yes, I mean, I love business. I had a great business that was kind of a solo-ish style business. It was very lifestyle, high profit margin. Life in general, we were, obviously those were COVID years, which I was not the one at home just making sourdough and online yoga. I had a life that was pretty much like self-destructing. So I was in a very challenging marriage. My mother-in-law with me who was in a severe depression and physically ill. I was, although I loved my business, I kind of lost spark for it. I was burned out, ready for, the next thing. Also, I think a bigger factor wasn't actually the business. It was that I was mentally, physically, emotionally just exhausted by my life, my personal life. And so that made everything in my business just feel harder because my life was just so draining. And just knew that I needed a change. I basically kind of got to a breaking point. So in a 3-month period, I left my marriage, moved to a new city, and sold my company.
Wow, the triumphant. You did all three in one go. Wow.
And then I went on like a 2-year eat, pray, love journey. And
Right.
my mind, body, and soul. And it was the best thing I've ever done. And I highly recommend. I think that sabbaticals should actually be part of our culture. I think we should establish a culture in which we can take sabbaticals. For me, it was absolutely life-changing. And
Yeah.
fortunately, I had the resources to do that. I don't have children, so that, helped as well. So I had the right set of facts that I was able to do that. And it was life-changing for me. And anybody that can take any type of sabbatical when you're fried, I highly recommend that they do that or find a way to do some version of that, even if it's on a really small scale.
Yeah. So what were the businesses that you sold previously?
Yeah, so they were all in the online marketing space. This is my first time in software. Teaming up though, being in tech and doing a software solution, I got obsessed with AI and AI backed humans. I want to be able to free humans, unleash our awesome human potential. I just see way too many people that are completely stressed out, overworked, exhausted. They've lost their creativity and their spark because of it. And we live in a world where that's not necessary anymore. We just have to do this like rebalancing. And I want to be part of that rebalancing and part of creating that solution for people.
After your sabbatical, your time off, you consulted 11 companies and co-built an overseas hiring system. How did the phase of your life shape the vision of Cash Flowy?
All others. So the last 25 years, all my businesses prior, I actually worked with solopreneurs in different ways. So I know them better than they know themselves. I know them inside and out, and I've been one of them. So I've been one of them, and I've worked with them in many different capacities, and they're who I'm the most passionate about. I mean, that's also a huge difference between us and like say a QuickBooks. You're not even their market. They just are kind of like, yeah, use our software. It's not really
Yeah.
for you, but
Yeah.
I love you. I know you. I care about you. I want you to have an incredible life. And I am working tirelessly day in and day night to provide you solutions to help make that happen. That is the big differentiating difference between us. And to get to your question, I lost my train of thought there.
No, I
What
was
was?
asking. No, it's absolutely fine. Don't worry. I was just saying about you consulted 11 different
Oh
companies
yes,
before
yeah.
you went into Cash Flowy. Like, who were you speaking to? What was the types of conversations that you were having to formulate Cash Flowy?
Yeah, those were a variety of different companies. I was fully on sabbatical for almost a year and a half, and then I was like, all right, I need to use my brain. It is time to come out of hiding. And so I just put out there that, I was consulting available because I was then starting to research what I wanted my next company to be. I knew I wanted to be software. I really wanted to work with solopreneurs, but I had a lot of research ahead of me to figure out what solution I was going to create for them and how I was going to do that. So I just put out there that I had consulting available, and people just kind of came out of work. And so I have different companies that I consulted, and they were kind of like over the board in terms of the type of companies. And then I took a couple advisor ships and board, seat. And I was doing just that while researching for Cash Flowy. And in the research for Cash Flowy, my friend Annie and I were talking about like one of the big problems for solopreneurs are. And I was like, hiring contractors, especially overseas. So if you're US based, it's really great because they're to get overseas talent, because you can get super smart, super hardworking, English fluent talent for a fraction of the price. And if you have like a living wage or solo business, or you're just getting it off the ground, that can be the difference between actually getting it off the ground and getting it to profitable or not being able to, right? Is being get help and support, building your website and graphic design and maybe some media support, some assisting, like whatever it is. And there's amazing talent overseas, but they don't know how to tap into it. So I was like, maybe we create a software around that. But I was like, why don't we just create like a program? Because she and I had both been doing that successfully in our different businesses for, 2 decades. I was doing it way before it was like popular or anybody really knew about it. I had way back in the day, before we had, Wix, Squarespace and all that. Everybody just had to have a WordPress website, and it did not have a, easy editor builder. It was
Yeah.
like a real programmer to do coding, and it was hard and all of that. And so I had a web design agency, and I had a team in the Philippines that would design and build them. And we just did these $1,000 websites for small businesses, from acupuncturists to chiropractic clinics to travel agency, all these businesses. And we just did, like 1,000 a year. And yeah, it was business, but it was, this was way back in the day. But I had a lot of experience hiring overseas. And so we put together a program on doing that, that said, hey, here's where you actually need to post job ads. These are templates for all the best types of roles for hiring overseas. And here's the actual job ad, just edit and then post it here. And then the way that you vet them is very different. So we show them like, this is how you're going to vet them. And then when you want to make a hire, this is how you're going to onboard. This is how you need to pay them. This is how you need to work with them, because I mean, communication and stuff is a little bit different. So we just created a program that we sold, and that was successful. But it just was not, I'm like, this isn't like a standalone software. This isn't the biggest problem to solve, but I'm glad that we created the program, and we now give that program as a free bonus. So that program we sold for $1,000, but it's totally free.
So, what sparked you into your entrepreneurial drive? Do you think it was something that was learned, or was it something that's innate inside of you?
I was born this way. And it was to the surprise of my parents, who are all parents and step parents, are all blue collar union workers, same job for 40 plus years before retiring. I grew up in small town Midwest USA, very hardworking trade worker community, and somehow came out an entrepreneur. Was starting businesses when I was like 9. And yeah, I just have always wanted to find solutions and create solutions and then sell those solutions. I was just always called and drawn to that.
And so, what was the first business, and when was it?
Like real business or like childhood business?
Let's say real business rather than the lemonade stand or something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah. Yeah, so my first real business was actually as a professional organizer, which, yes, that is a thing for people listening. I didn't know it was. So before it was a real business, in high school, my friends' parents would hire me as, I called myself the helper. So basically, I would go in, and one of my best friend's mom was a realtor. And I went in and would organize all of her files and paperwork in her office and loved it. So some other realtors in her office hired me to do that. And then some would hire me to organize the garage and organize the pantry. And so I literally just called myself the helper. And that was like one of my hustles through high school, to buy my clothes and pay my car insurance and put gas in my car and all the things. And so fast forward, I'm working a corporate job, and I want to have a business. I'm online. This is like very, very early internet days, so there's not like a lot online yet. And I come across a new organization called the National Organization of Professional Organizers. And I start reading about it, and I'm like, wait, I've been doing this for years. And so I was like, and you can get certified and you can get clients and they charge so much more than what I'm charging.
Right.
So anyway, that was my very first business. And out of that, I realized that what I liked to do most wasn't actually like organizing garages and stuff. It was actually dealing. So back then, I'm going to date myself. So for those of you that are younger than me, back then we were all buried in paper. Every single person had a filing cabinet in their house and it
Yeah.
was filled with paper, and we would get
Yeah.
so much mail and you had to keep all these papers because it was like legal and you could, it was just paper. And everybody was surrounding paper. Nobody knew what to do with it. And I loved organizing file systems. So I actually created a method called find and file any paper in 30 seconds or less. And if you do a deep Google research on me, you will find some very embarrassing like stock images and videos from way back then. And I created it so I would go to different home offices and regular offices and do this system in my local area. And that was what I got known for, and built an email list around and all that. And then as my email list grew, people outside of my area, like in different parts of the country, would get my newsletters and they would say, oh my gosh, I wish I could get your system here. So then I actually created a program. So I put it in a physical booklet, like 3-ring or binder booklet with a CD.
Yeah.
We didn't have online programs then. So it was called the fast filing method. Find and file any paper in 30 seconds or less. And I packaged them up at first in my basement myself, and then eventually drop shipped them and would send them all around the country. And I was doing like about $5,000 a month in these little programs that I was selling for $27.95. So it was like I was moving like a lot of them every month because everybody was buried in paper and didn't know what to do with it. So anyway, that was my very first like real business. I did end up actually selling that business for a very small amount of money, but I did sell it. And so that was kind of my first like business success.
Congratulations. That's a great idea.
Yeah.
But especially learning about business and learning about the different aspects of business, it probably was a good grounding, was a good solid point for you and your career.
Yeah, for sure.
So let's talk about hiring. So you've spent a long time as a solopreneur yourself. How did you approach hiring and team building in a tech startup, especially with the years that you'd had as a solopreneur? How did you approach the hiring side?
Yeah, it's definitely easier because I've been through so many businesses and I've hired and fired so many people in the last 25 years. And I have the benefit of experience now. With that said, it's still one of the most challenging parts of a business is finding
it absolutely is.
really
It's the work.
good.
It's the hardest thing, hiring and firing in business, 100%.
Yeah, it really is. And so fortunately, we do have a rock star team at Cash Flowy, but it took work. Even with as much experience as I have, we've made bad hires and have had to do fires, and we will do that more again. Like it's not like you're never going to hit 100% on that. It is really hard, but I do have some good systems and protocols and vetting in place. I believe in tests, especially when you're hiring overseas, but just in general, I mean, everybody now, you should give paid test projects before doing any hiring. So I hire slow, fire fast. If you've ever read Good to Great, or if you haven't read Good to Great, everybody go get that book. I think Jim Collins. Yeah, it's excellent.
Yeah, Jim Collins,
exactly. Hire slow, fire fast. So it's a challenge because I'm somebody that wants everything done yesterday. I'm like, we move fast, break things. I want everything done yesterday. So when we need a hire, I'm like, it's very hard for me to go slow, but I have to force myself because it is so painful to make the wrong hire because you are doing a full onboarding, getting them all trained, getting them in your systems, work with them. And if they don't work out, you have lost so much time, energy, and money in that process. So it is better to go slow. It is better to start finding people to hire before you are desperately in need of them. So you're going to have to stretch yourself and be like, we don't have the budget for this yet. You need it. You've got to start that process and just start with paid test projects. That's going to give you a chance to really get to know them and see how are they communicating with you? How are they doing the project? And you're just like have a chance to work with them. And so you can just pay small flat rates for test projects, and then it gets actual work done in your business before making the hire. So it's a much more affordable way to do that as well. So paid test projects is really the way to go. And you want to, in your paid test projects, do things like purposefully give an unclear instruction. How do they handle an unclear instruction? Do they come back and ask clarifying questions, or do they just muddle through it and give you the wrong product? And so you want to do things like that in your test projects.
Yeah, and I totally agree with the idea of hiring slow and firing fast. It's one of the hardest things, but we have to, as entrepreneurs, as business owners, we have to be able to deal with the reality that you might hire someone that's the wrong person or the wrong fit, the wrong seat. They might be in the wrong seat within your business as well. But yeah, it's most definitely the hardest aspect. How would you say you've evolved as a leader?
Oh goodness. In every way imaginable. I shudder to think of myself 25 years ago. Yeah, you can't like for me, the journey, and I think for most people would say this that have some success under their belt, that it's the journey is actually the fun part. Like who I am today, I'm so much happier with than who I was 25 years ago. And I wouldn't have gotten to who I am today without the pain, without
Mm.
the struggle, without the losses, without the wins, without, and here's the reality. If you drop $100 million in my account today, I would wake up tomorrow and do exactly what I was planning on doing tomorrow. Like I'm building Cash Flowy because it is what I want to be doing. I want to be birthing this solution. I don't want to be just like spending my life on a beach and I don't know, reading a book or whatever. Like I want to do that for a week every year for sure.
Yeah.
but and having now sold 3 businesses, my last one was a 7-figure. So my first exit, very small. My last exit was a 7-figure exit. And the day I'm sitting at the closing table with my buyer, we went to dinner afterwards and we were both incredibly excited about the transaction, but we were also pretty exhausted from the process. If you haven't sold a business before, it is a very exhausting process. You have 2 full-time jobs, due diligence and the actual sale, and then running the company and keeping the numbers and like all that, plus gearing up to transition the buyer. So actually you've got 3 full-time jobs. It's a very exhausting process. And when you're done, it's just, my best friend joined us for dinner that night and she's, you two should be celebrating. You're both actually excited about this. And we're like, we're actually just really tired. And it's just like a day. My best memory wasn't the day at the closing table. That wasn't even really a great memory. It was just like a thing that we did and a bunch of paperwork that we signed. My best memories from that business were days that we solved incredible problems and found really cool solutions for them that made an impact in our target market. Those were the most exciting days for me, and the days that I will remember and carry through and reminisce when I'm 100 on my rocking chair sipping my lemonade.
Amazing. Thank you for your openness and honesty. Look, we're coming to the end of the interview. I ask the same 6 questions to all of my guests. They're quick fire questions. They don't need a quick fire answer. The first question is, what's the best decision that you've made?
Leaving my husband and selling my company and going on sabbatical.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you want to expand any more? You've touched on it. I don't want to delve too much into your personal life, but
Okay.
it was a life-changing, life-defining
Yeah.
moment.
It was a life-defining moment. And here's the thing. I actually don't regret my marriage. It grew me up in ways that I needed. I actually have also a lot of beautiful memories from it. It was not what was going to take me to the next chapter. And so just
Right.
being willing. The reality is I knew that I needed to leave like a year and a half before I did, but I was unwilling to face that reality. I was like, I am going to fight until the end of time on this. I am going to. And the moment that I was like, And actually some good friends helped me get there where they were like, do you really think that this is the marriage that's going to support you in all these big dreams and visions that you have for your life? Do you really think that you can go for these big dreams in this marriage? Because we're not seeing it. Are you really seeing it if you get honest with yourself? I'm so grateful that they had these hard conversations with me because it had me stop and say, actually, this isn't going to serve the next version of me. Like, I had grown a lot during that marriage, and I was in a marriage with somebody that hadn't. And so the gap between us had gotten just extraordinarily big and unfillable. And I did have and do have big visions for myself, and I'm constantly growing personally and professionally, and will do that until I die. And so just getting honest and saying, you know what, this was a chapter. There was some really beautiful things. There were some really painful things. I think it was a chapter that I needed, but now it's time to close the chapter and it's time to go really find myself. And I need time and space to do that. So I need to actually not work. I need to not be married, and I need to just go and be still and be quiet, which is more hard than it sounds. I think that there's a lot of people exhausted right now, maybe in their relationships and in their businesses, one or both, or jobs or whatever, just in their life in general. And they're like, oh my gosh, that just sounds like a dream. Here's what I'll tell you. It was, in some ways, yes, it was a dream. And I'm so grateful that I got to be able to do that. But here's the other side of it is my entire life I'd been working since I was very young. I was like launching businesses at age 9. I was working like 2 jobs all through high school to pay for my own things. And I always had people that were like dependent on me. Like I was always I had people that were dependent on me. I needed to work. And so I always had like a mission. Like every day there was just things, right? And when you stop and there's nothing to do, like literally you wake up in the morning and you're like, nobody needs me for anything. I have no employees that need me to show up and make sure that we have a business and profits and payroll. And there's no husband and mother-in-law to take care of and parents, and there's just like nothing. There's nothing for me to do, and there's nothing for me to take care of. The only thing is for me to be still and actually be present and just deal with myself. And that is actually very uncomfortable for a person like me.
Yeah. Oh, I think it's uncomfortable for everyone because I'd imagine it would be quite lonely initially, because if you've had such a full life with dependence and responsibilities, to suddenly have nothing, it's that stillness. Everyone thinks that's what they desire, that's what they really want, but actually it can be a very lonely experience. And it sounded like you took a couple of years to, I say, find yourself. It sounds a little bit cliched now, but find what made you happy, find what you want to design your life to be. And I think all power to you to actually doing that and making that choice. And Cash Flowy wouldn't be in existence if it wasn't for those tough choices that you made.
Yep, exactly.
Next question. What's the best piece of advice you've been given?
I've been given a lot of great advice over the years, and I love reading books. Books are such an accessible way for everyone. You can either spend the $20 or, quite frankly, just go to your local library, support our local libraries, and you can get 10, 20 years of somebody's experience and wisdom in a 3-hour read. So a lot of the best advice I've actually gotten from books. One of the best that we talked about today was The Good to Great, Jim Collins, Hire Slow, Fire Fast. And that was definitely one of them. I would say another one is, for the most part, revenue cures all. So focus on revenue, get obsessed with your target market. You need to really niche down. For most businesses, they need to get more specific and more niche in their target market, and they need to get obsessed with that target market and focus on revenue. Yeah, you can also then burn all the revenue, and then you've got to really focus on net profit, but focus on revenue first. Nickel and diming expenses is never going to really solve your problems in your personal life or your business life. And so the bigger thing is get more money in the door, get bigger numbers in the door. And then, yeah, of course, you want to do optimizations and stuff, but that's a smaller thing for later. Revenue. And the way there is get super niche and super focused on that niche, and then get obsessed with your target market.
Yeah, amazing. Great advice. Who's the person that's helped you most in your career?
There hasn't been like a single person. I've had some good coaches and mentors through the years. I have an amazing squad of besties who are also all badass entrepreneurs, and we just show up for each other personally and professionally day in and day out. Get your squad, get your people that really know you, they love you, they have your back all day every day. You have each other's backs, and together you're able to I'm having, or any one of us has some big issue, we just come in and, hey, this is the thing. And everybody just comes and we just pour ideas and solutions and resources on each other.
That's amazing. Tell me about a regret that you have.
Every what?
Tell me about a regret that you have.
Regret. Ooh,
Yeah.
let's see. I should have left my marriage a year and a half sooner. Yeah, I was just so not willing to even see it as a possibility. I just saw it as like failure that I was, yeah. And the thing is, like, there's no such thing as failure if you learn and course correct, learn, course correct, learn, course correct, learn, course correct. And so just be willing to stop and look at things for what they really are. And it may be a personal relationship, or it might be a business relationship, or or just a business in general that just isn't going to work for you anymore for whatever reason. You're just not feeling it. You're not aligned. It's okay to just learn all the lessons and like course correct, pivot, do something else.
Next question. Was there a time that you wanted to give up, and what pulled you through?
Oh gosh, 1,000 times. Like, if you don't want to give up, you're not playing you're playing a really small game, which is actually okay. So I want to talk about that for a moment, because I do think that at least US based culture, I see that less in other parts of the world. And I personally live in Portugal. I see it less in Europe, but in US based culture, it's pretty prevalent that you should hustle, play a big game, play a hard game, all of that. That's not for everyone, and especially not during every chapter. If you are going through a chapter where you're maybe having a family and raising children, just as an example, that's maybe not the best place for you to be in. Maybe the best place for you to be in is to actually run a highly profitable, easy peasy, one person business that you can do part time and make decent income. And you're not playing this big game. You're not solving these hard problems. You're just delivering a good service in the world. You're doing it in reasonable hours every week. It's pretty chill. It's pretty simple. And you make enough money to support your family. That is okay. That's more than okay.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I think some people want to build empires, some people want a lifestyle business, and there's nothing
Yeah.
wrong with either one
There's
of them.
nothing wrong with those. Yeah. And you could do both at different points in your life as well, right?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
life is actually long. If you take care of
yeah.
yourself, life can be long, and you can have so many different chapters.
Yeah. Tell me something that most people don't know about you.
I'm a pretty open book, so I don't know if there's like a lot. Like, if you Google hard enough, you can find most things about me. Let's see. I'll just talk maybe about, so there's nothing my close friends don't know. I mean, we know each other just inside and out. In terms of the general public, I would say, so I actually have a small, tight group of friends. So I have a big network, but my like friend group is actually small and they're like ride or die for life. I don't have too many people in between. There is a circle in between for sure, but it is more extreme, I think, than a lot of people have. And I'm halfway between an extrovert and an introvert. I think they call that an ambivert now. I think there's an actual word now.
Right. Okay. What does legacy mean to you?
To me, legacy is leaving the world better than we found it, putting out solutions and work into the world that lives on beyond us and that makes a positive impact.
Wonderful. And lastly, where can people find you if they want to reach out to you or find out more about your business?
Yeah, so you can go to cashflowy.ai. And on social, I'm mostly Instagram, trying to do LinkedIn slowly but surely. And it's just my name, Heidi DeCoux, which I'm guessing will be in the show notes. You can get the
Yeah.
spelling there. So Heidi DeCoux on Instagram, Heidi DeCoux on LinkedIn. I never log into Facebook. If you see anything there, it's my team. So Instagram, LinkedIn, and then my business is cashflowy.ai. And we actually have a really great newsletter. I'm very proud of our newsletter. We hear from a lot of people that it is the best newsletter that they get. So we even have people that are like, I'm not your target market. I run a bigger business, but I just love getting your newsletter so much. I've
How
got a
do they
gal,
sign up for that? How do
go
they
to
sign up for that?
cashflowy.ai. Yeah, cashflowy.ai. And we're going to be adding in our footer. By the time this goes live, you can scroll down to the footer of the website and there's a link there for the newsletter. And we do these really cool breakdowns, but in a super fun, fast read that's like fun and funny and engaging on what big brands are doing that you can implement in your small business to get for like free or very low cost, but it's like a really killer strategy that a big brand did. And then how you can execute that killer strategy in your own small business. And they're really fun and engaging to read.
Brilliant. Thanks, Heidi. Thank you so much for being a guest on my show. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you for your honesty and your openness. I really do appreciate it. I'm sure my audience did as well.
Yeah, thanks for having me today. I enjoyed it, Mark.
Thank you.